Do you like comic books, video games, movies, and television? Are you way more interested in fictional superheroes than actual human beings or real life? Do you like listening to people discuss these topics for roughly an hour or two at a time?
Well, if you liked when this asshole did it alone, you're gonna love me.
This is the intro to our podcast, innit? What is up, everybody? My name is Jack Napier, and with me, as always, is Matt Lee. Matt, how you doing?
What up, what up? I am solid AF. How are you?
Solid AF. Solid as a rock.
Solid as Frank.
That's sure.
Asshole.
Why not? The
understood that reference.
How you doing? We're doing our comic book club episode today. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah. This is a bright end to a horrible week.
Yeah.
Actually, real quick, I forgot to tell you, I got a ticket in my driveway
on
Wednesday.
What do you mean you got a ticket in your driveway?
Exactly what I said.
How did that happen?
Came in my neighborhood. We have a stop sign right at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
which literally nobody stops for, hence why this cop was there, I guess. And I slowed down for a kid that was riding a bike.
Right.
Looked both ways twice. Saw the cop. Didn't even think anything of it. I'm like, domestic disturbance or something. So I'm 5 houses into the neighborhood, like right in the front.
Yeah.
Pulling my driveway. This dude takes 4 minutes to do a 28-point turn. Pulls up in my driveway. I put my hands out and I'm like, yo, what up? What's the problem? He's like, you ran the stop sign. I was like, you're joking, right? Nope. $170 later.
Are you serious? Wow.
Serious as something that's not serious.
Serious. I love your wit.
Yeah. I asked him, I was like, if I go to court about this, do you have to appear? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, well, I just bought some new clothes, so I was pretty perturbed. But,
As a former JSO officer yourself, how do you really feel about
I
that?
group messaged about 7 current JSO
Yeah.
street officers about it, and I will not disclose their responses. But, yeah, it was
That's
kind
funny.
of an odd occurrence.
That's interesting, man.
Yeah.
That's dickery right there. That's the difference between, I understand, and that's enforcing the laws or the traffic rules, but that's dickery.
That was somebody's sergeant saying, I'm tired of this person calling. Go sit in this neighborhood and get at least 2 citations.
Yeah.
So, because he literally got one more guy after me and then left.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's fair enough.
Oh, well. Anyways, but yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the show.
Yeah,
Good
I'm
times.
really excited, man. Just before we dive into the story of it all, because for those of you listening, we're going to do our news as always, but we're going to actually kind of talk about the story. And I've written pages upon pages of notes so we can really kind of get into the meat of this story. But I want to know how you felt about it, Matt. How did you like the book itself?
It was like I didn't know anything about it prior, so I didn't have any expectations, and I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was a very cool idea.
Yeah.
Executed well. The art was killer.
Yeah, fantastic artwork.
Great artwork.
Yeah.
But like a really good fleshed out story. I told you I only have one complaint on the story as a whole, but otherwise it was solid. I liked it. I'll read it many more times.
So once we get to that area that you didn't like, you just hit the pause button and tell us what you didn't like about it. Tell us why,
Oh, you want me to just go right into it?
Well, I'm saying once we get there in the story.
Yeah.
Once we
It's right off in the beginning, so
Yeah.
we'll get to it fast.
And I'll tell you exactly why you're wrong. The things that I really enjoyed the book. This is my second time reading it, which is why I picked it. And for those of you, because I've just realized I haven't said the book name, it's called Batman White Knight. It is an elseworlds tale, completely devoid of any kind of continuity. It is 100% elseworld tale of if the Joker suddenly went sane and Batman himself were starting to lose his grip and becoming more violent, becoming more brash and a menace to Gotham City and hurting Gotham more than actually helping. And it's
almost similar to what we saw in BVS in certain
Yes.
regards. I mean, not a carbon copy by any means,
No,
but
not
it
at
was
all.
similar. Like I was like, yeah, that's kind of what Snyder was.
I think what I loved about this book the most, just if I'm being corny for a minute, was that it really did feel so original. It felt so original reading this book, and I understand why it got all the acclaim and the praise that it got.
I got, and this may sound cliche, but I got like immersed in the world of this book very quickly. I don't know if it was just the art or just the way, like some of the Joker's dialogue, like right at the beginning, was so well written. Like I fell into it really fast. Some of these stories, it takes you a minute for it to gain momentum. This one was like right off the bat. Just,
right.
No pun intended.
Those collage pages, like especially the Joker, like showing he wasn't talking about his origin, but it did show in that single page him before being the Joker as a stand-up comedian, him robbing his first bank, him donning the makeup and the hair, and him and Harley down at the bottom. Like, just that collage of timeline in that single page. Those kinds of pages were so cool.
Yeah, did you see the one like where it shows him in the room that's essentially a shrine to Batman?
We're gonna actually talk. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that here in a second.
Oh, man, cool.
There's really cool stuff. But let's get into the news real quick. We'll get into the entirety of the book. And so what's gonna happen is I'm gonna read a very detailed. Me and Matt talked about. I'm gonna read a very detailed my notes of the first couple pages because I think they're the most important. And then after that, we're kind of gonna hit the highlights because we don't have 6 hours to sit and talk about this. But you know, all in all, I'm really excited. But let's get into the news first. Matt, I got some news. I got news for you.
Okay, go ahead. Go on, do your work.
The Disney Plus streaming app not only was announced for its release date, which is going to be November 12th. It's going to cost $6.99 a month, which is super competitive with Hulu and Netflix and all that kind of good stuff.
Cheapest on the market, actually.
Yeah, cheapest on the market. And it is, they've announced officially Scarlet Witch and Vision series, Loki series, and Winter Soldier and Falcon series, all starring the original actors and cast members of the Marvel MCU movies.
There's actually, they did mention as well, it wasn't in the press conference, I think it was like the next day. It was kind of like, wasn't spotlighted as much. I thought there's going to be one with Hawkeye, but it's going to be about him passing on the mantle.
Really?
Yeah. And it's going to have Jeremy Renner. But the focus, is, I think, is going to be early on in the show that he passes on. And I can't recall her name. It's the female Hawkeye. I think that's currently in the MCU, the comics.
I don't know. Whenever I think of female like archers, my head goes to DC, and I think of like Artemis or Huntress or one of them. Yeah. So it's hard for me to.
I didn't like it though because a lot of people had a good point. They're like, "Well, that's like 3 different spoilers in one. Like, couldn't you just tell us this after Endgame came out?" I mean, I'm sure nobody thought Hawkeye would die, but that's like he's definitely not gonna die.
Yeah, but that's speculation at this point. You know what I mean? And to be fair, then the Scarlet Witch and Vision, Loki, and Winter Soldier, that's all now spoilers that all those people will be alive.
Yeah.
Unless
Loki's a prequel, which could be, because he could be on Asgard and all that stuff.
It could. I just don't know. I don't know if it will.
Winter Soldier and Falcon's not.
Yeah.
And I hope the goal is to throne a new Captain America out of those two.
I think that's the point. I think that's extremely what we all want is... Yeah. I think the idea is that this is going to come to a coalition of crowning out of because they don't like each other still. They're not like best buds.
Yeah, but they're hilarious together.
Yeah, I think it did show in the last couple movies that they're working together a little better. That fight with Spider-Man was pretty great.
When he's kicking their ass and they're doing like the buddy cop stuff, that was probably one of the best parts of that whole movie.
I will say, though, that it's still, because knowing how much I like the Winter Soldier as a character and how strong he is, especially with that robotic arm, and when he threw that punch and Spider-Man caught it like it was like a baseball being just like tossed at him.
Yeah,
it still blows me away.
That was great, and they showed how good this Peter Parker is because when he said, "Dude, you have a metal arm."
Yeah, yeah,
awesome.
You have a metal arm? That's so cool.
But yeah, even Bucky, like that's a good point because even when he caught Bucky's punch, he looked like, what the hell?
He had that look of like, how did you just do? And it was so easy, and that still blows me away because, not to get off topic, but what the thing you and me have talked about is that Spider-Man in the movies and all iterations, they've either made him strong or they made him smart, but I don't think we've ever gotten that good, true mix of how intelligent and how truly strong Spider-Man is.
I think I've always thought this, whether it's in comics, films, the animated series, that the only thing that holds him back from being arguably one of the most powerful characters ever is himself.
Yeah.
Like his conscience and things like that. Because I think if he were to just go full on, there's very few that I think could stop him.
I think that they go a little too hard now in the comics on the. So when Peter Parker, Spider-Man, kind of came into comics, he was relatable because he was that young everyman teen. He wasn't like, there's nothing special about him. He was just a kid from New York. You know, they made it so nothing ever went right for him. You know, it was one misstep over the next. And now that's so prevalent in the comics, it's almost cringy to read. Like, it's really annoying because it's every single page is a new something go. It's like he's the epitome of bad luck. He's the anti-Domino.
It used to be super simple. Uncle
Yeah.
Ben gets shot.
Yeah.
It changes his scope and his view on things, and that's his motivation. He's like it's almost like a Batman, but he didn't take it to the extremes that Bruce Wayne did.
And I will say what's weird is in the current Marvel comics, the Amazing Spider-Man at least, in the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man that's out right now, which is a great book, they he's friends with the Human Torch at least. That's all you see. But in the Amazing Spider-Man, nobody likes him. Every superhero thinks he's annoying and doesn't want his help. He tried helping the Avengers in one of the first couple issues, and they were all being like, Jesus Christ, this kid's here again. And to me, as a Spider-Man fan, I'm like, fuck you guys. Why? How are you going to do that to Spider-Man?
I can see it. They kind of did that in Homecoming when he was super eager to help, and then Happy would be like, dude, stop calling. We'll call you if we need you.
Yeah, but at the same time, this is an established Spider-Man who's had his whole history of being Spider-Man, and everyone just hates him because they're like, I don't like this kid at all.
At the end of the day, so that's like I said, him holding himself back. I don't think they take him as serious as they should sometimes because
I agree.
he can throw down. When he fought Captain America in Civil War,
he saved the universe time and time again. I don't know.
Spidey's dope.
He's still one of my favorite characters of all time.
Me too, and I never thought that I'd say this, but I think I like Miles as much as I like Peter Parker.
I love Miles Morales. New man, and you know what they gave Miles that is so cool to me? They gave him 2 extra powers that Peter does not have.
Yeah.
Which is the Venom. What do they call it? The Venom Sting. Whatever. He can stun, paralyze, electric charge. Mm-hmm. It's this weird electric charge paralyze stun that he can do, and he has invisibility. He literally has camouflage. And I'm reading that book as well that comes out monthly now, and it's really good. Not a huge fan of the artwork, but it is cool getting to know this character a little better because I didn't pay as much attention to him when it first came out.
I'm sure when they pitched that idea, I would have loved to have been in that room because I guarantee you it would have been it's cool, but do you think it'll really catch on? I'm sure there was doubt, saying, is this character going to last? Well, and then he did. He's a fan favorite now.
Well, so Mark Bernardin is credited. Mark Bernardin, for those of you who don't know, he's the co-host of Kevin Smith's podcast, Fat Man Beyond. And he wrote an article that got huge acclaim saying, why can't we have a black... It was basically why can't we have a black Spider-Man? Mm-hmm. And he was just kind of going over, very poignant, very well written, about the difference between taking characters and changing them just to change them versus making new characters versus at the same time we're in this world of we need more diversity, especially in comic books because there is still a prevalence of because that's all there was back in the day. And so he wrote this article, got huge attention. And then Brian Michael Bendis, who is a comic book writing god, he was like, I'll write this character. And he made Miles Morales, and it took off like a rocket.
Yeah,
so
great character.
Very cool, stuff, very interesting background. And I'm definitely excited to see what comes further out of that. I still have not seen Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh,
I have not had the chance to.
Person.
I feel like a fake fan. Every time I don't get to... I'm going to watch it tonight. I don't care how late I'm up.
Dude, it is... I'm telling you. I went into it thinking, I'm probably not going to be into this.
Yeah.
It is so good.
Well, I don't think I took the fact that it was an animated movie as seriously as I would
The
take.
animation drives me nuts, too, because it's very odd at times, but it's... You really quickly, you don't care anymore.
Yeah.
You're just like, whatever. This is such a good story.
Well, we're going to see the new Pet Sematary tonight, which I'm super excited about because it looks amazing.
Hard pass for me.
Nope. Really?
Yeah, I don't do that creepy.
Really?
Little kids. No.
Oh, I can't. No. I can't wait. As soon as I get back from that, though, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna rent Into the Spider-Verse and watch it.
I want to go see Hellboy. I don't care what any of the reviews say.
It's funny you say that, Matt. That is our next piece of news.
Sweet.
Hellboy premiered on Rotten Tomatoes at 9%.
I thought that was garbage the second I read it. I was like, there is no way.
It's interesting what
Absolutely
people
not.
are saying about it, because there are some of the reviews. Of course, you have the people who are just bitching to bitch and have no. But they're the people who are writing honest reviews.
They love it.
No, they don't.
Oh shit! I've seen tons of people that say
Well,
they love
yeah,
it.
okay, yes, and I don't mean to split hairs here because I haven't seen Hellboy,
Split the hairs.
but I mean that the people who are writing reviews as to why they think it didn't work, it's interesting what they're saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but how many of them
And-
are just pissed that it wasn't Oh Boy doing a third one?
Well, no, I just think that it was the fact that so there were reported problems on set. The director was not given much creative control because the studio kept stepping in saying, we want it this way. It's just like the early days of the MCU. It was plagued with the director constantly fighting the producer. And so they were talking about how you basically had two movies that you could definitely see the scenes that were purely the director's vision, and then you could see the scenes where, okay, that clearly came from somebody else. And it constantly was back and forth, so it feels like there's a lot of unfinished parts of this movie. And they say what's interesting to me, because it looks visually great, I think, in the trailers.
Awesome.
They said there are some weird scenes where the monsters or the characters look like they weren't finished being rendered. And it's just really weird CGI that, like, now you know that I hate those complaints, but there is a difference between complaining about a visual spectacle like Rogue One or Transformers and then it actually looking bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they were saying that, yeah, there were some random scenes where all of a sudden one of the characters just didn't look like he was done being rendered, and it was just super weird. But I'm gonna hold my own judgment till I see it.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm definitely gonna watch it.
Yeah, I definitely want to watch it.
Funny that this came up because what is it? David Harbour, is that his name? That played
Yeah,
Hellboy?
David Harbour.
And Stranger Things and all that.
Yeah.
He's actually in Scarlet Witch,
Yep.
so that's cool. There's a whole thing of news.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of work, that's for sure.
Yeah,
so,
he's great. I like him. He's
yeah,
he's a cool
I don't
guy.
have anything against the guy. I think that he was really great. I'm a big Stranger Things fan.
Yeah, me too.
He
He was in Suicide Squad also. I forgot.
Was he?
That scene at the beginning where Amanda Waller's pitching.
Yes,
Flash
yeah,
Fortress,
he
he's
was.
at
He was
yeah.
sitting at the table.
Yeah.
I completely until you just said that. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot when I watched it the other day. I was like, dude.
Yeah, he
This
was
guy's
at
in
the
everything.
table listening to this, and you're absolutely right. One of the sad pieces of news is that Kevin Feige confirms that the X-Men are probably not going to be in the MCU for a good while. They are not part of the current 5-year plan that the MCU has.
I'm kind of okay with it though, because I feel like they're gonna do it right and make sure they do it at the right time.
So here's what I think, just speculation wise. He said that the X-Men are not going to be part of the MCU. He didn't say Wolverine wasn't. I think that we will get Wolverine. I just don't think we're going to get the X-Men up front.
So quick sidebar thing here.
Yeah.
So once Endgame passes, they said this whole from Iron Man through Endgame is the Infinity Saga. But I remember throughout they were calling it Phase 1, Phase 2,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera. But now it's like one big phase.
Well,
so
we're
are
still
we now going into like official Phase 2 or what
No,
is
we're
this?
technically going into Phase 4, right?
Okay. Because
So-
I thought that's what Feige said. Is he was like, yeah, now it's going to be dubbed the Infinity
this is
Saga.
either ending Phase 4. No, we're moving into Phase 4. So
Okay.
after Endgame, they're calling it, because it all technically connects to one big lead up, right? But the phases are just kind of code names for where they introduced,
It's
like,
just a batch of films.
Yeah,
honestly.
like
it's just
this-
like here's the next.
but this phase introduced these heroes that we didn't have in the first phase. You know, this phase had this mini arc to deal with. You know, there were still many arcs within this grand story arc. But
maybe
yeah,
we'll get a proper Doctor Doom and all kinds of good stuff.
I think
exciting.
I don't know what we're gonna get.
Oh, we're talking about X-Men. I'm thinking Fantastic Four now. So,
Either one. I mean, they're both coming from Fox, so
Galactus.
that's all I want. If I'm being honest, I don't care about. So I'm
But
not
I
a-
want a comic book style Galactus. where
Yes,
he's-
exactly.
Like,
We
you know
don't
what
want
I'm trying to say.
the big dust storm.
He
cloud.
looks like a Sentinel, honestly.
Yeah.
But he's awesome. He's so cool.
So I don't. I'm not a big fan of the Fantastic Four. I really don't give a shit.
I'm really not.
I also
either.
don't really give a shit about Doctor Doom. I know that
I do. I like.
Yeah,
I, like Dr.
I know.
Doom.
Everybody is. I think that, like, my favorite villain from Marvel, or one of my favorite villains that I would put over Doctor Doom, is Kingpin. So if that gives you any indication of who, like, my allegiances as a fan.
I was just about to say Doctor Doom is Marvel's Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
And then you said Kingpin. I'm like, damn, he kind of is too.
Well, so, like, and there was something that perfectly in the Marvel Knights mini series that had just ended. They were on the rooftop talking, and Doctor Doom was giving his, like, explaining to Kingpin his plan and what he did to do all this fuck shit. And he pissed off Kingpin, and Kingpin picked him up, like, started beating Doom, picked him up, and threw him down the building and killed him. And I was like, oh my gosh.
That's funny you said that, because I've seen multiple times where he comes in and he's like, I'm holier than thou, and they're just like, shut the hell up.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's an Infinity Gauntlet when Adam Warlock shows up, and Doom's like, how dare you just, and he's like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, okay, sure.
Calm down, Iron Mask. But yeah. Justice League. So you remember we were talking about Justice League in the Fatal 5 movie last week? So it's drawn in that Bruce Timm Justice League Unlimited kind of style. That's the art style that they put it in.
Oh, yeah.
But they just came out and were like, we know you guys loved it because we gave you back, that style. And we had the old voice actors come back and all that good stuff. But it's not in canon with Justice League Unlimited. And it's not going to spark a revival. We're not giving you more. And everybody was collectively like, fuck you.
Well, it's like it sucks, but you should be grateful kind of situation.
Yeah,
like, of course it sucks, but you're like, man, well, at least they did us a solid and gave us this.
So I want to save, I know we're going to talk about Star Wars here for a second, but I want to save that for the last. But Game of Thrones, Ian Glenn was cast as Batman for the next season of Titans.
Yep.
So we officially have a cast for Batman that we will see on screen.
Speaking of which, folks, at the time of this recording, it is the premiere date of the final season of Game of Thrones, and people won't shut up about it. And everybody is going to die. Spoiler alert. There you go.
I don't watch Game of Thrones.
Oh, you're one of those?
Yeah, just for you fans out there, couldn't give a fuck about it.
I stopped watching it in like the 4th season.
It's it's just not my bag. It's just not my thing. But I am interested in this actor that they cast as Batman because
he's a little older than
he's an older guy, and I'm wondering what now the thing that's cool about Titans is they don't seem afraid to name drop. They weren't afraid to say Superman, Wonder Woman, Justice League. We saw Superboy, we saw Crypto. They're not afraid because they're owned by DC. They have no licensing problems, no problems at all.
I don't know about you, but Titans may be my favorite DC thing out right now.
Yeah.
That show was so good. I was just floored how good it was.
I love it. I can't wait for season 2.
When freaking Jason showed up and then those two started dicking off together, that was amazing.
When he broke that cop, when he fought all those cops and then just broke him, that's what's
interesting too, because Jason's not dead and Bruce is that old. So there's no Tim. But we don't know what version of the stories we're getting here.
But yes, so I don't. But okay, so again, I don't think he's old enough to be like Batman Beyond old.
No, he's not like decrepit.
So I think we're getting into the cusp of that, where we're gonna get a dead Jason Todd.
We have to, because remember when Dove had her premonition from Raven, she said we have to find Jason Todd.
Yes,
and they never touched on it again. And I'm telling you,
I know it really bothered me.
Something.
I thought that they were gonna say Dick Grayson is the key.
So did I.
You know what I mean? And then we have to find Jason Todd.
I don't know about you, but that was like confirmation for me. I was like, he's going to die. But whether we see him become the Red Hood or not, yet to be determined. But he will die.
I think we will. I don't think we're gonna get as far as like a Damian, but well, I think we'll get. Who knows if we'll get a Tim Drake? But
one thing too, people are assuming is when they showed who they cast as Bruce, they think of him from Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. That's not to say they won't color his hair and make him look a little bit younger.
He's gonna look 100% different.
That's what I'm saying.
He's gonna look in Game of Thrones.
You're thinking of his character in Game of Thrones, where he's dirty and just
That's
old.
That's what I'm saying.
I
don't think he's old. I just think he's old enough that we're getting into the really good storylines. Yeah, you know what I mean.
It's solid. I can't wait. That's honestly the thing I'm most excited for, other than Endgame, of course, is Titan season 2.
I am very excited for Star Wars. So the new trailer for Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker.
Lame title.
Is it a lame title?
I am so sick of this Skywalker crap. Like, just let's move
come
on.
This is the last movie.
Is Rey a Skywalker or is she a Kenobi?
Leia?
No, Rey.
Oh, Rey? That's what we don't know.
She's got to be Kenobi's niece.
That's where all of the speculation is coming from.
Because if she's Luke's daughter, they literally just redid the first trilogy.
Don't fuck with me.
And it's so dumb.
Fuck you.
But excited. I do like her. I like Daisy Ridley.
Oh, Daisy Ridley is so fantastic.
I actually like all these casted characters. I like Poe Dameron. Yeah. I even like Finn.
Yeah, Finn's really
He's
great.
Funny.
Rose Tico. She's a good character. I like her.
What's the one that goes, "Where's that Wookiee? He's my boyfriend."
What?
What's her name?
Oh yeah, the old lady from the with the big goggles. Yeah, I don't remember her name.
It's like Maz.
Yeah, something like that. Maz or Roz or something like that. Whatever.
Mazda 6.
Maserati.
Yeah.
Maserati. Fuck off. Yeah, I am pretty excited about it though. At least
I'll go see it.
At the very least, we're getting an end to the Skywalker saga. So
that's what
it's worth seeing in theaters. These are the movies I really want to see in 40X, because I think if any movie is going to be great in 40X with all the change of sceneries and the cinematography, it's a Star Wars movie.
Well, it's funny because you just made me think of something. I was talking about Endgame, and I was saying nothing in cinema has ever been done like this. Look how many movies have led up to this, and they all intertwine. Well, Star Wars kind of has too.
Kind of.
These are 9 films about the same saga, and you're right. This is going to be the conclusion, which none of the initial Skywalkers are even involved. Leia's gone.
Now, we will get more
Luke's
Star
gone.
Wars movies. However, they did say there's gonna be a hiatus of Star Wars movies.
Yeah, they're going to start getting into the cool stuff now, like the stuff we all want to see.
Well, I think they're going to get into the original concepts now.
Yeah.
Because they already foregoed all of the books and stuff. They were like, nah, those aren't canon anymore.
I think their lore is perfect for a series like this Mandalorian series.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be awesome.
I'm really excited for that too.
And I love Solo.
And
I know
Palpatine's
nobody
going to
else
be
likes
back
Solo.
in this movie.
Who?
So we're Dark Lord Sidious, Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah.
He's going to be back. I'm really excited for that.
Unlimited power.
Yeah. I'm really excited, but that's all the news I got, man. That's pretty much it. That's probably, as much as I love getting into like the stories, that is kind of my favorite part of doing these shows.
Yeah.
Just talking about what's happening in the news and what to expect, because it always gets me so hyped.
I'm trying to think about what else. We saw Shazam. We went down that road. That was good. We're 2 weeks out from Endgame.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's coming out in July, so
we got a
stuff
full
coming
list. So we're going to do our comic book reading club today, which is the White Knight, which we're going to get into right now. Keep a lookout, because next month's comic book reading club, the date itself is yet to be determined, just because we got MegaCon coming up and Avengers Endgame coming up and stuff. But next month's is going to be Batman Hush by Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee. Some of the finest artwork ever put into a book itself. And I don't care what anyone says, Jim Lee is the greatest comic book artist who has ever lived.
This is
Jeff
easily,
Loeb being a fantastic writer.
And this is easily one of the best Batman stories ever created.
It's impossible to not like. It's just such a well-done story.
Yeah,
and
it's awesome.
I'm really excited to do that.
It's very long.
I was
going to
say,
it's bad.
It's a long
it's not
one.
bad because the story never gets dull, but it takes a while to read it.
I think that this book is pretty long too. Batman White Knight. It's almost as long as Hush.
Oh, no, it's not.
Huh?
No, it's not.
It's not?
No, Hush is longer than this. It has to be.
Well, it's longer for sure, but this is almost as long as Hush.
But the pages are also bigger in Hush.
Whatever.
That's a good point too, because the art's so good. That's just hundreds of pages of just pristine artwork.
That's exactly my thought with Hush, is that I'm like, man, all the painstaking time that was put into every page and panel
and
of
think
Hush.
how many characters are in that book.
Oh, speaking of news, they
Everybody.
released a couple of screenshots from Batman Hush the movie.
Oh, you want to talk about excited? I'm like counting.
You want to
down
talk
the
about
days.
disappointed already?
Why? It looks like crap.
It looks like it's not that it looks like crap, but so it's in the continuity of the New 52 stuff that we have coming, like those movies.
Yeah,
which is fine. The article I was reading, this person was not a fan of them. I am.
Yeah, I dig them.
But they did say something I fully agreed with when I was looking at these screenshots. The art in Hush is so good. That panel, the panel and page of Batman and Selina kissing for the first time in the moonlight with Gotham lit up as the background is an amazing page, right?
Oh, they showed a screenshot of that.
And they showed the same screenshot, and it was so underwhelming.
Oh, that's not fair. That's different animation.
I know it's not fair, but it is very much like, man, this is so super underwhelming.
Yeah,
because I will say, as much as I think they do a good job with a lot of their stuff, the last one, the Reign of Superman, was kind of underwhelming.
I still haven't even watched that.
Now,
I watched Death of Superman.
The Death of Superman, that was great.
That had the best fight scene of any of the DC
very
animated
cool fight
films.
scenes.
That was obnoxiously cool.
And you know that I'm a big fan of Justice League War.
They're all good. There's very few of those. I don't think
Throne
there's
of
really
Atlantis,
any
all of them.
The only one I don't like is Bad Blood. I told you about that.
I do like.
I don't like Bad Blood.
I think it's all right. They did. And I think that they kind of butchered the Court of Owls storyline with the Batman versus Robin.
I think, and you know me, that in print I'm not the biggest Court of Owls fan.
Right.
But I agree with you on that because I think they glossed over it. There was way more they could have gotten involved, and they were like, "Here's Talon, here's the Court of Owls."
Yeah,
that's it.
It happened very fast.
Yeah,
I think you need to just honestly reread that because I know you have them in the trade paperbacks.
Yeah.
Reread that because to me, I just reread it. So good. Everything about the Court of Owls storyline is so good.
I just got all of Deathstroke Rebirth.
I know,
trade
which you're absolutely going to let me
so
borrow as soon as you're done because I really
my
want
next
to read
priority.
them. Yeah. But let's get into it, man. Batman White Knight, written by Sean Murphy, art by Matt Hollingsworth, which again I couldn't say enough good things about.
Oh, the artwork's sick.
So
he almost looks the aesthetic of this Batman. He almost reminds me of
Gotham by Gaslight.
Thank you.
Yeah,
yes.
I thought the same thing
because he's got like
they gave
a
him
collar.
the high collar.
But it's not as obnoxious.
But
like,
it is
subtle.
like a coat, but not too much like a coat. It still drapes over his shoulders.
He
It's
wears,
very
like,
cool.
Biker gloves.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Very
I like
cool
it.
stuff. So this is a DC Black Label book. It was, I think, their first book that was released on Black Label. Now, the idea of DC Black Label was that it was marketed for adults specifically. They wanted to get into the nitty-gritty. They wanted to get into the how far can we push the envelope without worrying about this being marketed to children.
Yeah,
so they
this
said
one is pretty dark too.
Yeah, so they said very dark. They said if we stick that Black Label stamp right on the front, then that they know it's for kids.
It's funny because it's black and it's hard to see.
You
barely see it.
It is kind of hard to see on the book, but Batman Damned, the first appearance of Bat Dick, that came from that was a Black Label book.
Bat Phallus.
And so they have kind of Bat-a-wang, as we like to say.
Oh, that's funny.
They do like
Never
to.
heard
I think they're pushing back a little bit on the DC Black Label because of that misstep. But
what are you talking about? That wasn't not like you personally, but that wasn't a misstep. You see
well,
how
they're
much media
considering it a
attention that
misstep
got?
because there was, I think, a lot more negative reaction
Dude,
than
they
anyone
broke
would
the
have
internet
thought.
that day.
Yeah, it did break the
You
internet.
want to know how many people either Google searched that or bought that damn comic
and
that day?
We're not getting a second printing. The only printing we're getting past that first printing, which I'm glad I have my copy, is what's it called? The hardcover is coming out, and it will be edited.
Hardcover and soft cover?
The hardcover.
We're on her today, boys.
We are just on a freaking roll.
Okay, let's move on.
So it's, like I said, it's a what-if style, Elseworlds kind of tale about what if the Joker went sane as Batman started to lose his grip, become more violent, What if he just started to lose it and he couldn't hold on to his morals or his code anymore. And it's such a cool concept. And that's what you look like you want to say something.
Oh, well, how do you feel about these Elseworld or
Love
just
'em.
one-offs?
I love them. I love the fact that we can have our canon, but we can also, there's no reason why a writer shouldn't be able to write, like, what if this happened?
But that's what's so fun. And I've brought this up before because
Right.
I'm a big fan of continuity.
Right.
But that's why I like how they have different, like New 52 and Rebirth is a good example.
Right.
New 52, it was all continuity. Boom, Rebirth. Now we have brand new continuity,
Which they
is
do
cool.
very much feed into each other
Yeah.
a lot. But I exactly agree. But what I like about Elseworlds is just the fact that we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
The changes
solidified
they
it.
make to the characters,
Yep.
the changes to the histories and the backgrounds, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Because it's its own thing.
I think this book really kind of put me over the edge with it. Like,
Yeah.
I like these now. I really much enjoy
Yeah.
them because, yes, it's fun to see different versions of these classic characters, and it's fun to see them darker or, in Joker's case, just completely ass backwards than what he's always been.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
With no consequence. It's just
very,
a one-off.
It's very different. So
Pretty
you were
cool.
kind of talking earlier about you get that opening page, which is in the trade paperback, it's showing as like a title page, but it is an actual page of the book further in where the Joker is sitting in his cell, and it's full of Batman paraphernalia. And right above his bed is a Batman the Animated Series poster.
That's the first thing I saw. I think that was the point, but
yeah,
it looks so cool.
And then you have like all the toys and figures.
It's like different eras
around.
of Batman.
Yes, very
cool.
very cool Easter eggs. I did love that. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get through this beginning section, and we're going to kind of hold off our commentary until we get through this, just so I can kind of...
He's telling me to shut up.
Yeah, kind of cinematic, make it, you know... We're going to do it. Whatever. We'll do it as best we can. But we begin by seeing the Batman pull up to Arkham, and a figure is telling the guards, you know, I know my way around. The next panel is actually showing the sane Joker, Jack Napier, finding locked up Batman and saying, I need your help, you know? So we're like, what the fuck right off the bat? Why is the Joker, slick back hair, no makeup, asking Batman, who's locked up in Arkham, I need your help?
A very classic, here's a hint of later on at the beginning.
Well, foreshadowing and really good. I love it. But we go instantly back to a year prior. We see Batman tearing through the streets of Gotham in the Batmobile, chasing the Joker, who's on one of those electric hoverboards, by the way. You know, the ones that were like big on Vine or big on the internet, the two-wheeled things you just stand on. It's like a...
Oh, yeah, the little...
Yeah, and then you just propel forward. It's like a Segway without the...
And he's totally... Like, Batman never really gains on him either. Like, he constantly
That's what I'm
has
saying.
A lead
It's
on
like
him
this
too.
electric Segway without an actual handle. So he's ripping through Gotham trying to catch the Joker on this electric little scooter. And they jumped the bridge, which was super cool to watch. And even in the panels, and then you see he's like, fuck it. And he takes him across the rooftops, and Batman's driving the Batmobile on these rooftops and destroying. Barbara is freaking out.
I was just about to just say that's your first sign of you can tell that he's starting to his boundaries are getting looser.
So she's in shotgun in the Batmobile. She's in shotgun and just freaking out, saying, "Stop! You're tearing up these rooftops." So Joker's crossing through the construction zone, and Batman again just ripping right through it, almost killing two of the construction workers. Nightwing following right behind him on Nightwing's motorcycle, catching people and trying to save them from Batman actually injuring these innocent bystanders. And he's just trying to make sure that nobody gets hurt by their recklessness. So Batman's chasing Joker into the industrial complex, into like this industrial complex housing development, and they're housing pills that the FDA was going to trash, that they were just going to throw away. There were, I guess, research that they weren't able to finish their trials on, and they were going to completely scrap. And the Joker's telling Batman that he's helping him become stronger by raising the stakes. It's what makes their relationship so great. Every time he does something worse and Batman has to fix it, he's becoming stronger and stronger. Batman says there is no relationship. He starts beating the shit out of the Joker. And Joker's, of course, laughing the entire time, saying that they're a team and that it's their dynamic. Batman tells him that he only tells himself that because he's ignoring the truth that he doesn't matter, that nobody cares about him, not Batman, not Gotham, not anybody. The Joker exclaims that he's been holding back all these years, that if he really wanted to kill him, if he really wanted to do something so truly devastating, he could have done it at any time. And he only held back to give Batman just what he needed, just as much as he could handle, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, that's actually one of the biggest themes of this whole story is I've always seen it as a yin and yang type relationship, which they did a good job in the Dark Knight film when he told him, he said, you complete me. I would never kill you.
Yeah,
because
this
you're
book
too much
was
fun.
completely based off of their...
Yeah.
But it wasn't even so much of that relationship that we've known it. It's that when you're reading it, you realize that he was not only obsessed with Batman, he was literally in love with Batman.
Well, this one is cool because they take such a deep dive that it actually shows you a perspective I've never seen before, how it affects other aspects of Joker's life, his obsession with Batman.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
and especially with like Harley Quinn and whatnot, which we'll get to in a minute. But the so he starts telling him, he's like, I gave you Gotham. I gave you Gotham because the only reason you're allowed to exist, Batman, is because they're so afraid of me. I was the terror. They needed somebody to clean it up. And that's the only reason. So as he continues to taunt Batman, he's literally beaten within an inch of his life. Batman just keeps hitting him and hitting him. Now the laughter is stopping, which is something we also haven't seen too much of, because usually he laughs till the last breath.
Well, mind you, he's egging him on the whole time.
Right.
Because as he's pummeling him worse, he says something else.
But I think what's interesting is the Joker's actually getting kind of mad. He's getting visibly
Batman
angry.
hurt his feelings.
He's telling Batman that he failed his own city, his family, those he swore to protect. Batman is actually Gotham's greatest villain. It wasn't the Joker. It wasn't Two-Face. It wasn't anybody. Batman is the biggest villain in Gotham. Joker says he can get the city back on track more than Batman ever could if he only could get better. And he aimed to prove it with the pills that the FDA were working on. Pills that would fix him and make him right. Batman says, fine. You want to get better? Then open up. And Batman grabs his jaw, forces the Joker's jaw open, and dumps an entire bottle of these pills down his throat and shoves his hand in to make him swallow. Which is really fucked. It was such a jarring page to read.
And mind you, how many people are staring in horror as he's doing this.
So not only is he doing this, but he's being filmed, unknowingly being filmed by a bystander for the whole world to see. That eventually hits the news. Not only did they see him forcing this bottle of pills down the Joker's throat, but they saw Gordon and Bullock and the entire GCPD standing around doing nothing.
Yep.
With Barbara Gordon and Nightwing in terror.
Which has huge implications to the story later, which we'll cover.
So the Joker ODs, starts foaming at the mouth, and seemingly dies as Batman just walks away. And holy shit, what a great opening to this book. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they jump. I mean, I love these books where it's just they jump right in.
Now they got to the DC Black Label aspect of this very quickly.
Yeah,
and
they set the bar right away.
It didn't feel like it was brutal just for the sake of being brutal. No. Like, this book very much had purpose. Everything in the story had purpose. The artwork is amazing. The book is very dark and brutal, and the artist did Matt Hollingsworth, who did the art, did a really amazing job visually, and I loved this book from the minute I started reading it. The first pages, I think, really just hook you in.
I was mentally giving you a thank you as I was about 20 pages in, because I was like, this is such a good...
Yeah, I mean, I really thought that you were going to dig this book for sure.
Awesome.
I didn't think for a chance, as much as you like the Red Hood and Deathstroke stuff, which are arguably the darkest stuff in DC. Mm-hmm. I didn't think there was a chance you wouldn't like this.
Yeah,
and any listeners out there who maybe picked up the book or have been tweeting us and letting us know, for sure, I figured people would like this. And I think a lot of people have already read it, but it's such a good story.
This is another one of those that's so good. Like, I wish people that didn't read comics could, read it as a novel or something, because I feel like more people need to experience this story.
I think this could very well be novelized. It should be. I enjoy the artwork so much. I wouldn't want to read it as a novel. But so we start moving on, and the city has sparked a debate about Batman. Has he gone too far? Is he a menace? And they're claiming it as #Batgate. They didn't really say hashtag, but they are calling it Batgate, the Batgate scandal.
I always assume that this is modern era. This is taking place in with the social media presence and all that. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And seeing them film it with the cell phone, the person was filming it with the cell phone.
Because at first you can never tell with Gotham. You're like, is it 1940? Is it 2020? I can't tell. It always looks like crap.
And you know how much I like the noir feeling of things, so I try to not pay too much attention.
Especially with his gear. Like I told you, I didn't know at first. I was like, is this like a couple years back?
Right.
Like I wasn't sure, but pretty cool.
So we find out in the next coming pages after the news anchors are talking about Batman and is he a menace, that Alfred's down and caring for, that Batman is down and caring for Alfred, who's actually dying. And with Alfred dying, it's really put Bruce on edge, which is where a lot of the hostility and the anger and the violence has come from. So he's been working with Mr. Freeze to save not only Alfred, but save Nora. And he kept it a secret from the whole family, which the only family you really get in this book is Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, and Nightwing.
Yeah.
I think it's I think it really shook us all because we've never seen Alfred like that, where he's...
Dude, this is straight from Batman and Robin with George Clooney. Come on.
Oh, he did get
It's
sick
literally
in that
the
movie.
same thing. It is the exact same thing.
That's right. Oh my gosh.
Except the outcomes are a little different.
Yeah. I completely forgot
Works with
about
Mr.
that.
Freeze. Alfred's dying.
I didn't care nearly as much in that movie.
I was like, but the context they used it in this story,
Yeah.
it had a greater impact. So
I
it was
think,
cool.
yeah, this felt very more real.
Yeah, it was cool.
So, the Batman leaves, and he goes, and you see him sitting outside of Joker's cell in Arkham, and the Joker is just talking. He knows. He says, you were my greatest reason to live. You were everything, and he's just kind of telling him what he's meant to him and why he thinks he did all the things he did. Leslie Tompkins, however, informs that Jack Napier, who is the Joker's real name in this book, who has an actual origin story and has, which all the people saying that an origin story ruins the Joker, no, it fucking doesn't.
There's never the same one twice either. It's
Well,
always different.
no,
well,
but
there's certain themes that are reoccurring.
What I'm saying is that in this book, he has a defined origin story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So people are saying that a lot of his personality comes from the fact that he doesn't have one, that nobody knows what it is, and that the movie The Joker coming out later this year is going to ruin that because no, I disagree. The Joker can have an origin just fine. They gave him the very much he was a failed stand-up comedian, and that's what he was actually talking to Batman about when Batman was sitting outside his window. He's like, I sucked at comedy.
His explanation
Yeah.
of why he turned to crime
Yeah.
was awesome.
He said
It
I
was so
couldn't.
good.
He said I couldn't make people laugh.
What did he say? He goes, you can't strike emotion in people that are in a city that's become numb.
Yeah.
Which you're just like, and it's like a testament to how crappy Gotham City is.
Yeah.
And
it
that's
really
why,
is.
and he literally says, I had to up the ante a little bit.
Yep. So he moved to. He's like, I robbed a bank.
Yeah.
And then then from there on, he just started to lose it, which is just awesome. But
that character is played by Marina Baccarin in Gotham, correct? That's Lee Tompkins.
Lee Tompkins,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Now in these iterations, she's much older.
Yeah, it makes sense though because
I still think she's older than Jim by a good bit. But
that's true. But
doesn't
I was
bother me,
thinking
yeah.
that too because I was like, in Gotham, he's a younger man.
Yeah.
She's a younger woman. And this
it really
story
doesn't
is
bother
older
me.
Jim Gordon.
She's great in Gotham, but
pretty cool.
So she kind of informs Jim and the mayor, James Gordon and the mayor are kind of talking, and Lee Tompkins informs them that Jack Napier has made a full recovery and he's not going to die. And they're like, good, maybe now he won't sue. Well, that's funny you should say that because
genius now.
whatever was in those pills cured his psychosis. There is no more Joker, just Jack Napier. And they say that he has to be faking it. Of course, he's the Joker. He doesn't just become sane. And they say, well, Lee says you can't fake these CAT scans and you can't fake the IQ test that put him well above genius level. He's currently in the Library of Arkham preparing for his own legal case against the GCPD and the city of Gotham, which is awesome. And Gordon says, all right, well, I want to talk to him. And he goes and has an interview with the Joker in an interrogation room. And boy, does Jack Napier immediately give it to him. So Jim, he says Joker, and he goes, Napier will be fine. The most pretentious shit in the world.
Just to give you guys a visual, too, if you've ever seen Limitless with Bradley Cooper, it was a lot like that.
Yeah.
Like the Joker had taken NZT, and it just made him a freaking genius.
Incredibly smart. He
cool.
says that he wants to be better for Gotham. He says that they've demonized him, and they have made him into the villain that he actually is, and that he wants to be Gotham's White Knight. And so next thing you know, they're at trial, and he's representing himself. It appears as if the Joker... I think in this story, they made it seem as if the Joker is not nearly like the murdering psychopath.
So I'm glad you said that, because in this version, one of the most interesting things that I picked up on...
I know what you're going to say.
...is they said... And they said this multiple times. They said, we've literally only arrested him once, or charged him one time, and it was like on armed robbery. So everything he's ever done, it's almost like it's just speculation. They don't have any proof.
And no, I think it's that he's more of a rascal. He's a goofy nuisance.
It's like Batman knows, and they all know, but they don't have any hard evidence against him.
I don't know if it's... I don't even know if it's that, because you know what else they said? He said he was trying to get it so that the mayor was saying, we have to get it so he can't have those books or writing, materials. And he said He said
they couldn't even justify taking away
exactly.
things
He
that
said
could be
the
used as
Joker
weapons.
has never attacked a guard or another inmate, and I said, what? Like,
Yeah,
so
their version was different.
So
for sure.
again, I'm not even really mad at it. You know that I'm a little more mellow about those things, but I'm not even mad at it. But I do think it's interesting that he doesn't seem to be, for as brutal as Batman is in the story, he doesn't seem to be like that murdering, I've killed thousands of people, type
it was like his
psychopath.
focus was more solely just on Batman. Like it almost like all the chaos that normally comes with Joker wasn't as amplified in this story, which was okay.
Yeah, I mean,
like-
again, I was very okay with the directions that they were going in with these characters, but so they're at their trial, and Napier says that the city officials, the corrupt city officials, have been using him as a scapegoat to hide all of their embezzlement. Okay, well, if the Joker is terrorizing the city, then we can move these funds to take care of it. We can use these as different relief funds. We can use this as, so they're hiding their own criminal activity, and they ran the city off of fear to hide their true crime.
Yeah, because they said every time, they even said like Batman was great too, because every time he damaged property, like they would always profit from it.
Right, absolutely. So it was called the Batman Relief Fund, and we're going to get into that in a second. But the Joker, he gets released because this is a different universe that makes no sense. And he goes home to see Harley. And once he gets to Harley Quinn, he's kind of, she's of course excited. She's like, Puddin', you're out. I'm so happy to see you.
And this is very Margot Robbie version of Harley Quinn.
Exactly, very much like the exact outfit.
Yeah, she has the same outfit
from the Suicide Squad, and she's like, Puddin', you're home. I miss you so much. And he's like, let's have a seat for a moment. And of course, you got to remember, he's Jack Napier, So he sits her down, and he's like, I haven't been good to you. I haven't treated you right, and I'm sorry. I've abused you. I've taken you for granted, and I've beaten you and treated you like dog shit. And she's like, yeah, I kind of love it. And he's like, but you shouldn't, because that's crazy. He's like, I want to treat you right from now on. And he pulls out an engagement ring, and he says, I want you to marry me. And she starts laughing her ass off and punches him in the chest and says, stop being a pussy, Stop with all this love and marriage crap. And
let's go rob something, is what she says.
Yeah, she's like, let's go commit crime. Get your makeup on.
Oh, yeah, she called him ugly. She said, oh, that face is hideous. Throw some makeup on.
Yeah.
Which, fun fact, when he first got, when they said he was better, remember the woman said, he's actually very attractive because he looks normal now.
You can tell in the artistry, or like in the design, that he's supposed to be very good looking.
Yeah, like in this version of the Joker, he is like a handsome man that was wearing clown makeup. And then when it's off, like he's just, good looking guy.
So out of nowhere, Harley Quinn gets knocked out from behind by a very familiar leg.
A red and black.
A red and black
leg.
Familiar feminine leg.
Now, I told you earlier, I had to reread this sequence of frames like 4 times. I was like, what the hell just happened?
I did not know what was going on.
I was confused.
You come to see classic Harley Quinn in the original outfit, standing there and been like, you miss me, Puddin'?
Yeah.
And so basically, I don't know if we should just get into this now, but there's 2 Harley Quinns, you know?
Which they do explain, thank God, because I was just floored and confused.
Right, and so we'll talk about that when the time comes, but she grabs the ring off the floor and says, apology accepted. So next panel, intro Mr. Freeze. Wayne and Freeze, Bruce Wayne and Mr. Freeze, have been working together to save him and Nora, Freeze and Nora, as well as Alfred. Freeze was apparently frozen 50 years ago. He says to Barbara, he was frozen 50 years ago.
He was 30 years old.
Yeah, he was 30 years old. So he's 80. So she's like, he's 80 now. And he used research from the Nazis that Thomas Wayne actually helped with. So Thomas Wayne helped with Nazi research. Thomas Wayne wasn't a Nazi, but he helped with...
Yeah, they said the Third Reich. They weren't saying Nazis specifically, but
he helped with designs from the Third Reich.
Because he says thank you to you and thank you to your father, and at first you're like, huh?
Right.
And then he
and so he basically had finally felt like he found the formula for the perfect thawing that could live. So he tested on these mice, and then he says they're alive, cool, and he does it to himself. And he thaws and he fixes himself, but he rapidly starts to age.
Yep.
Right? Because he is, he couldn't handle it.
Yeah, it cures his condition. However, his body catches up to where it should be.
Right. So 30 years or 50 years from when he was
later.
30, now he's 80 years old. He's an old man. So they don't want to unfreeze Nora because they don't know how it's going to affect Nora. And they still don't have a cure for McGregorson disease. Is that what they call it?
I think it's McGregor's.
McGregor's disease.
Yeah, which shows it actually, that part was cool because it highlights to me just how smart Bruce Wayne is. Because Victor Freeze is a genius.
Yeah.
And he says, look, because Victor, like, he had one train of mind at that point. He's like, we got to unfreeze Nora. And he's like, dude, we don't even have a cure for her disease.
Not to take away from it, but I don't want to make it seem like it just makes Bruce like a genius as far as, which he is, of course, but I think it proves that Freeze has been trying to do this alone.
Yeah, he immediately.
And now he has somebody to bounce that idea. Again, I think a lot of times we not to be corny, but things can be done better and more efficiently when you have people to bounce ideas off of and make things happen.
Yeah, and this was cool because, again, this was villain Mr. Freeze.
Right.
But their partnership seemed very genuine. Like, it didn't seem to have a sinister undertone.
I have never gotten that from Mr. Freeze in any iteration. My favorite thing about Freeze is that he's a villain because he needs to finish his research.
He has one objective.
But he is not evil.
Yeah.
He purely just wants to cure his beloved Nora, and he'll do it by any means necessary.
Yeah, he does not falter.
So he doesn't have an agenda of I want to kill the Batman or I want to kill Gotham City. Maybe in some iterations, but in most he does not. He's just a man willing to do anything. And that's what I love about that character. And that was perfectly highlighted in this book.
This was awesome, Mr. Freeze, even though we didn't get too much of him. But
right.
It was probably one of my favorite versions of Mr. Freeze.
So we cut over to Harley Quinn, or the real Harley Quinn now, the original Harley Quinn. And we'll call her Harleen Quinzel from now on, or Harleen. And she's explaining to the Joker why she left, Yeah,
because he didn't know, mind you, when he's Jack Napier, he doesn't remember Joker memories.
Yeah, so it's super interesting because it's basically saying that, he was obsessed with Batman and she loved him so much. And all she wanted to do, she was truly a psychopath with him. Mm-hmm. And all she wanted to do was make him happy and be with him and destroy Gotham together. And he was so obsessed with Batman that she was jealous. She was like, you don't love me. You love Batman. You want him. And she left. And we'll get to how the other Harley kind of came into the picture a little later, but it's super interesting.
That wasn't the main reason she left, though.
What was the main reason?
Jason. Jason.
I don't think that was the main reason.
She says it.
Huh?
She says that.
That was the last straw, sure, but I don't think that was the main reason.
Oh, well, yeah.
She left.
Her motivation was I had to compete with Batman and blah, blah, blah. But so basically they quickly go into the whole classic Joker's about to kill Jason Todd.
Right.
And he's brutalizing the shit out of Robin.
Right.
And then Harley says, you're only doing this to get his attention.
Right,
That's your
exactly.
only reason for doing this.
It's still circled back to like that jealousy kind of thing.
And it's crazy because Harley Quinn herself is telling him, this is messed up. This is wrong. You are only hurting him because you're trying to get his attention.
So what's amazing about that is that he had Jason Todd locked up and strapped to the chair and beating him and brutalizing, cutting him. He was cutting him with a straight razor. And, he was, it was purely... One, he was trying to get, kind of like we saw in the Arkham Knight video game, he was trying to get him to tell him who Bruce Wayne was, or who, Batman's secret identity was, tell him it was Bruce Wayne. But it seemed like he genuinely wanted this information so he could...
Yeah. And then they show you how tough Jason's resolve is, like he usually always is, and he's like, and he wouldn't do it.
Right.
Like
so
he's torturing.
He wouldn't do it. And you're finding out in this explanation when she's talking to... Jack, that the Joker is still in his head trying to get out. So he's fighting the fact of the Joker. And so you're kind of seeing these panels of Jason Todd being beaten and, well, what happened with Jason Todd? And he's like, well, I can't really remember. I don't know what happened.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
There's two different characters, you realize, Jack and Joker.
Right, so they don't. A lot of things are fuzzy. You know, he doesn't really remember everything that the Joker did.
Yeah.
But, I wouldn't say that it's completely two different characters, but it is. They're opposite ends of the spectrum,
the way they're
right?
presenting it, it's almost like Jack's like, I don't know what the Joker did. I can't remember.
Later I can tell, already I can tell you he starts to remember some of the things, but the psychosis was so strong, it was like he was absent.
One of my favorite parts was in this sequence because he says, or Harley says, all I know is that we came back and Jason was gone.
Right.
And he said, did Joker, and Jack says this, he goes, did Joker kill him?
Yeah.
And they said, we don't know.
She says,
We've
I don't know.
never seen him again.
Yeah. He just
so
was
you
gone.
don't, and it's crazy because the common tale of this is that Joker kills the shit out of Jason Todd. And in this one, he's like, I don't know what I did with him.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's dead.
And so Jack and Harleen, they agree that they're going to be good guys. Maybe not completely good guys, but they decide that the way that they're going to obtain their goal is to save Gotham. They're going to save Gotham and turn everyone against Batman.
That was the opening frame of this section, too. I love when books do this, when they do a quote that's coming up from the pages upcoming, and they do a piece of art, and that was the opening to this segment, because the quote is, are you ready to be the good guys for a little while?
Yes, I love that.
Such a great piece of dialogue. It's Jack talking to Harleen.
Yeah.
It's really good.
And so they go ahead and they set up, and it's kind of getting news coverage and press coverage. They set up a charity for a neighborhood in the Narrows called Backland, I think it's called Backland. And
yeah, because one guy makes like a very racist comment about it.
Yeah, he called it like
Bruce
Blackland or something.
Yeah, and you can tell Bruce is like getting
He got
pissed
really
off
annoyed.
about all this situation, and he's like, "This is garbage."
Say what you want about Batman, he's not racist apparently.
Well, no, not just that, but he's pissed that Jack is getting away with this. And
so
he's like,
the
no
idea
way.
is that they're going to build a very much needed library and youth center in Backland, or in, I want to say, I didn't even write it down. I feel stupid.
I'll find it.
We'll just call it the Narrows. But in this neighborhood in the Narrows, he's building this and setting up a charity for them. And Bruce is pissed. You know what I mean?
He punches this dude at a charity event.
Yeah, he knocked him out, and then he knocked out his security guard too.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
But he's really upset, and you find out the next couple pages that Jack and Harleen, they secretly enlisted the help of all of the rogues: Bane, Ivy, Two-Face, Penguin, Scarface, Riddler, Croc, and they want their help to unite. Because they say we're stronger together. We can, we've always hated each other and done our crimes separately. If we work together, we can take down the GCPD.
Very awesome and unique art versions of those rogues also.
Yeah,
I thought Bane looked so cool.
I thought Bane looked amazing.
Bane was
looked
awesome.
Great. He had a really cool like sugar skull design. It was really neat.
Tell that they took influence from like 3 different iterations.
Yeah.
Because say what you will about it, but people eat up that coat that Tom Hardy's Bane wore.
Yeah.
So he had literally like a cut-off, sleeveless version of that coat, and it was awesome.
Two-Face, I thought, looked great.
Two-Face
looked
wicked.
really cool. You guys gotta,
this art, I can't say enough. This art is
you gotta check out. If
amazing.
No reason to check out this book is just to check it out for the art. But so the rogues, they can never agree. They don't want to work together. So Jack is like, okay, cool. Those shots that you just drank, all the liquor that I've been providing for you, they've had bits of Clayface in them. He doesn't tell them this, but you find out they've had bits of Clayface in them.
Yeah, because they say, where's Clayface? He goes, he's here, kind of.
Yeah, he's here. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's here in spirit. But so he fed them all little bits of Clayface, and you come to find out that they've taken the Mad Hatter's, what is it? The mind control
through his hat. Yeah.
Yeah, the Mad Hatter's mind control hat, and they stuck one single card into Clayface, and then they realized, if we just feed Clayface to the rest of them, we can control them all with minimal effort.
It's funny, they call it mind control by proxy.
Yes.
I was reading stuff about it, and it took me a couple reads of this too, because I was like, how's this working? And then I was like, oh, that's genius. That's brilliant.
I just think it was such an interesting story plot. I really do. Because that is genius. He's like, well, I can do this easy if I just have to control one thing that can control many things.
Yeah, because some of these scenes, they're almost confusing for a second, and then it reveals itself to you. And this was one of them for me, because when he said that, he's like, Clayface is here, technically.
Yeah.
I was like, what is he talking about? And then he just kind of appears, and I'm like, well, this is weird.
So we get back to Harley Quinn, the false Harley Quinn, the new Harley Quinn. And she's pissed. She's pissed because Jack, or Joker, as she will continue to call him, has become soft, you know? She thinks he's a pansy. And she says, all right, fine, fuck it. I'm going to be the new Joker. And she dons a new outfit, new makeup, new everything, calls herself Neo Joker, right? She's like, I'm going to be more brutal, more fucked up, more everything than the Joker ever was, and I'll show him, and I'll get him back. I think her ultimate goal is to get him back and to bring him out of hiding, because the only person who could bring the Joker out is the Joker.
Reminded me very much of Joker's daughter from the New 52.
Right.
Who was also very brutal.
Duella Dent.
But she was just wearing his face, which was crazy
disgusting
in itself.
She was just in the last issue of Nightwing.
She's a cool character. Yeah. I really dug it. At first, I was like, it's going to be dumb. And
they brought her back, and it was really interesting.
Yeah.
So she goes cool. Now we flash back to all of a sudden there's all the rogues that Jack Napier is now controlling. They're a huge fight in the streets. They're fighting the GCPD, streets of Gotham. They're fighting Batman and Batgirl and Nightwing. And they destroy everything. And they end up destroying, Batman leads them to the Narrows and ends up destroying the library that Jack is having built, almost like Batman was doing it subconsciously but intentionally to say fuck you to because again he's furious that the pissed. Joker is not only sane and out but is starting charities and got this huge settlement from the GCPD for brutality and all this stuff. So you know he's pissed, and he had Croc and Bane he got them to destroy. But it came at a cost because it collapsed. The building collapsed on top of Batman, and he became very hurt in the fight. You do find out that Batman gets hurt, but they used it as an excuse. They had one of the rogues accidentally, big air quotes there, destroy part of a law office's building, and he stole files. And you don't know what these secret files that he obtained are for, but what you do find out is that Batman, hurt from the fight, he makes it back to the Batcave and collapses on the ground next to Alfred, who, again, is sick and dying in bed. He wakes up. This is the most heartbreaking panel of the whole book. He wakes up the following morning in Alfred's bed, and he has all of his life support attached to him, and Alfred is sitting there dead in the chair next to him. And it was Alfred's final act while living was to save Batman's life one more time, and he died in the chair, and Batman just collapses and cries over Alfred's body.
Yeah, that part was it's crazy. That's another thing with these Elseworld tales is when they go in, they go all in with some of this stuff, and it's like,
and it
crap.
definitely depends on like the writer itself, but again, Sean Murphy, man, he did a really good job. Yeah. And I didn't get choked up like I was about to cry, but I got stunned. I was like,
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
Like I thought they were going to do the whole.
I thought we were going to save him. Yay, we saved Alfred.
And this happened dead. At what? Like the midway point of the book?
Like
this wasn't like at the end.
Maybe halfway through the book, not even halfway through the book.
It was quite the turn in the story. I thought for sure Batman was just going to lose his mind at this point and just.
Well, so he really is, right? Yeah. So it's getting worse and worse. And so Batman not only just lost Alfred, which is going to push him over the fucking edge, but they have his funeral, and the next thing he sees, and of course at the funeral, Barbara and Dick are trying to tell him, look, you've been going nuts, man. You need to settle it.
Oh, yeah, the whole time throughout the story, mind you guys, Barbara Gordon and Dick Grayson, they realize that Bruce is losing it. Like, and they literally talk to each other, and they're like, we don't know what to do. Like, what do we do? He's getting worse as the days go on. And you see it in the pages. Like, that opening sequence really did it justice when he's just blazing through the streets in the Batmobile. And no regard for civilians. And then when he pummels Joker to death, I mean, and then with the death of Alfred, you're just like, yeah, he's going to start being BVS Batman. He's going to start killing people in a second.
Well, so you had the death of Batman, and then we have the funeral, right?
Alfred.
And what'd I say?
Batman.
Oh, sorry. You have the death of Alfred, and then you have the funeral. And right after the funeral, he sees on TV Jack Napier, and we find out what those files were. And those files were proof that the GCPD has set up a Batman disaster fund, and that they had $3 trillion or $3 billion? It was $3 billion in taxpayer money being used to fix the things that Batman destroys while saving, quote unquote, saving the city. And of course, just like in real life, when people find out taxpayer money is being used for something like that, they were furious. So Napier just effectively turned all of Gotham against Batman completely. You know what I mean? What's really cool, though, is while you're seeing this, you see Barbara sitting at the Bat computer in the cave, and you get probably one of my favorite panels in the entire book, which is a wide shot of the Bat cave, and you see every Batmobile from every movie. You got the Dark Knight Tumbler, you got the Batman 66, you got the Tim Burton Batmobile, which is my favorite. You got the Batman the Animated Series Batmobile. You had all of them, including all the motorcycles, Batpod, the Bat boat, the speedboat, whatever. You had everything, and it was so, gosh, Easter egg full of excitement. I loved it.
Yeah, they do. They definitely take some opportunities for fan service in this artwork. Like we said, the Joker's shrine room, essentially, to Batman was awesome. Batcave was awesome.
Oh, look, I did write it down as Backport.
Yeah, Backport. Because the guy calls it Blackport.
Yeah,
and that's what really pissed Bruce off.
Yeah, it really pissed him off when he said that.
Which was really a testament to his character, too, because he was just like, he corrected him right away. He's like, it's Backport, and then he proceeded to knock that guy the F out.
Well, I think it's because they really did a good job portraying this rich hedge fund having asshole who, like, he had a line before he got knocked out that was like, I may actually have to set foot in my office if this happens. And, like, he just doesn't care. He's racist. He has, he's the epitome of the ideal of, like, white privilege and money. And
they were showing the upper class, too, how corrupt they are and how they benefit off of this war.
And he's like, oh, we all do it. So, that's a good point to bring up. I apologize. So he's the one of the main reasons he got knocked out was because he's explaining how he profits off of Batman's destruction and how Batman will destroy these houses in the Narrows, and these people will get evicted because of their destroyed houses, and then this prick will come in and buy them at a low cost, fix them up with no money, and flip them, and all of a sudden he has prime real estate.
Yeah, because once they get approved for that Batman relief fund, then all the millions of dollars come flowing in.
Right.
And
it's so he'll pay for the house, but then there's basically an insurance policy that that they can take out with taxpayer money, and then flip it and sell it for either a higher cost or rent it out at high rent.
I thought this was a very clever concept for this story because, I mean, it is what it is. In almost every superhero tale, the property damage is astounding. Like, you get it. Like, they have to do what they have to do, and it's for the greater good. But, like, in this one, they showed that, like, the Gotham elite essentially were, like, I don't want to say weaponizing it, but they were definitely capitalizing off of it, it was just such a smart, like, story idea. I don't know. I'm just so impressed with this book. It's for so many reasons. That was one of them.
Well, so not only do you see Napier now, he's on TV explaining that Batman has a relief fund, but then you see them go to Backport, and they're like, well, we're going to visit this area that, we're trying to help. They're trying to help the Narrows, and first thing that happens is they get mugged. And these three kids come and try to rob them. Of course, Harleen, being Harley Quinn, she knocks the shit out of all of them. And Duke Thomas shows up. Duke Thomas, here's the thing. And I feel like this is where my knowledge fails me. Should I know him from other things? Do you recognize Duke Thomas? Is that a name that's familiar? It sounds familiar. But they didn't give him a code name in the book. I don't know. But he's an interesting character. He's basically he's very much like Luke Cage. He's the protector of the Narrows and of Backport, and he's kind of giving Harleen props, like, wow, you kind of knocked the shit out of these kids. And he told these kids, you know the deal. If I catch you guys carrying drugs or weapons, you better hope that you don't run into me. And it's really interesting.
Oh, I was wondering. It's not who I thought it was, but I was close. You know, from Bad Blood, what was the guy from Batman Inc., where he has like the Iron Man type bat suit? Because remember, it's like a privatized Batman Incorporated.
Well, I know what Batman Inc. was, but I don't remember all of them.
Well, yeah, but
no,
Duke Thomas was this guy.
That's supposed to be the same Duke Thomas, because I'm reading him in All-Star Batman.
Well, not
Signal is what they call him. Yeah, he's Signal. I think.
Yes, he is Signal.
Yeah, he's Signal, and he is basically Batman of the daytime.
Yes.
Dayman, fighter of the night.
No.
So he decided, and that's kind of that was the cool thing about All-Star Batman, was he was coming. That's crazy. I can't believe I didn't make that connection, and I
wouldn't have, because I never got into
fan.
any of those.
Well, this is a grown man who's huge, by the way. Not like the child Duke Thomas that we get, but whatever. So he kind of takes them in, and he explains that, him and this other group of people, they're like basically neighborhood watch for the Narrows, and they try to protect their own because Batman can't be bothered to, which is also interesting. They do make it out very much like Batman can't be bothered to care about these poor people. Like, he really just protects the main Gotham area and the wealthier area of Gotham, but the Narrows and Backport couldn't be bothered to make it too many trips. And when he does show up there, everything gets destroyed, And it's like,
it's almost like we don't want him to show up.
Yeah, it's kind of like he leads people out to that area to get them away from the main city, but doesn't realize he's like how many lives he's ruining, right? So you go back to we flip back to Neo Joker / New Harley, and she finds the Mad Hatter. She tracked down the Mad Hatter and Clayface and takes full control of the rogues that Napier and Harleen had control of. Napier also decided he was going to run for councilman, for city council. And that's awesome. Batman and GCPD were not happy about that, so he decides he's going to have a rally. Duke Thomas is his security, detail. And he has a rally for his campaign speech, and Batman drops in and just starts kicking ass. And the GCPD drop in and start kicking ass. And Jack Napier's like, all right, stop, I'll go with you. We need to talk anyways. Just us, just honest. And the GCPD convinced Batman, like, you're not doing anything. He hasn't done anything wrong. He's running for councilman. So it really is just this out of control. Batman just wants to punch things. He just wants to beat up the Joker.
Yeah. This is where the story is really brilliant, because, Batman was like in this stranglehold where he's like, I know who you truly are, and I know what you've truly done, but now it's posed to where he can't act on it, which there's a lot of parallels to things in real life.
But think about it. If you've known for years this person is a monster and a murderer and whatever he is, you're not just going to accept that he's cured.
Oh, that was my problem. My one problem with the whole book I told you about. That was it.
I don't think that it's a problem necessarily, because I think that now for us it doesn't make sense, right? But think about how many things in our everyday life, in honest or like real life America, how short our memories tend to be.
Well, look at, I hate to even speak this person's name, but look at like Casey Anthony.
Yeah. 100%.
So,
I mean, but look at the real monsters like Casey Anthony. Look at the real monsters like people we have in our lives. How short our memories become. Mm-hmm. Because we have so many tragedy after one after the next. How quickly we forget. Not to get like political or sentimental, because we don't do that on this show, but honest to God, it does make sense in this book when you look at it, because the whole city has been like, oh, this is new information, and they completely, it's like they block out what has happened.
They focus on what's dangled in front of them in that moment.
And that is exactly how America in real life treats its news cycle, is that we forget immediately what happened yesterday. And I can't lie, I am a victim of that.
Oh, we all are, and it's all based
not the right
on
word,
your,
but I'm a perpetrator of that.
Yeah,
I get into. I try very hard to be a little more conscious, but that's what I loved about this book, was it did highlight as a hive mind of what America, or Gotham as a smaller unit,
I told you the parallels to real life in this book started kicking in later, and I was like, 100%. This is brilliant. Like,
so this is where we get to like my favorite part, because GCPD takes him in, and Batman doesn't go with him, but he decides to speak to the GCPD, and they can't arrest him. He hasn't done anything, but they take him and they go back to headquarters and, they have a talk. And he tells him his plan to make Batman included and the Bat family, Nightwing and Barbara, official GCPD officers. And the kicker is he wants them to have their secret identities. He wants them to be who they are, but he wants them to wear a badge and he wants them to be regulated. That's coming from Napier.
That's very Civil War-esque.
Yeah. Which,
mind you, nobody likes Batman at this point, really.
Yeah,
Not even
everybody
Barbara
is
or Dick.
Yeah, completely done with Batman. Yeah. And I think that it's really interesting because he wants to reroute the Batman Devastation Fund to going to armoring the vehicles and making their own Batmobiles, essentially, and giving, putting Nightwing and putting Barbara and putting them on paychecks, actual paychecks.
He was manipulating in the, just the smartest fashion at that point.
Yeah, it's just a really interesting, and he's explaining this to Barbara and, Nightwing at this point. But so it kind of flips and you see Joker and Joker. I said Joker. You see Jack and Harleen go to this fancy party and just showing where his station in life has suddenly come up to. And he proposes to Harleen, and he says, marry me. If the offer's still a thing, marry me. And Gordon, by the way, just to put this in there, Gordon, by the way, is completely done with Batman. He's absolutely just off Batman's side. They had a talk on the rooftop, and he's like, you have done nothing but fuck up, and I'm sick of covering for you.
Jack single-handedly turned every ally, every perception, every good that Batman had done, going back to your point about how quick people forget.
Yeah.
And he turned it against him so easily, so quickly. And I need you guys to keep in mind, too, if you haven't read it or you're not going to or you haven't seen any of these visuals, he is not the Joker during this story.
No,
so
he's
don't
Jack Napier.
When we're explaining this, don't think of, purple suit, green hair, red lipstick. That's not him.
Think of nice tuxedo, handsome face, probably
he's like a
big
political
dick.
figure.
Yeah.
And he's just destroying Batman legitimately. That's what's crazy is everything he's doing is, he's not doing anything wrong.
It's so interesting. Gosh, I can't say enough about how interesting this book is to me.
Nuts.
But so they go and they get engaged, and Neo Joker has found. No, I'm sorry. Neo Joker starts rampaging the streets with the villains, and they rip down the bat signal, and that's what leads Gordon to. There's this big fight, and it was very kind of over very quick. It was like her just kind of showing her force, being like, I have these rogues under my control. Rips down the bat signal, and Batman literally to Gordon is like, I'll get you another one. He's like, no, I don't want a damn another one. I want you to stop. You're done. If I see you again, I'm arresting you.
That was actually a really good point at the beginning when he first turned. I forgot all about it because we talked about how all these people were there as he brutalized Joker, and Gordon was kind of turning the blind eye. That was their mentality, turn the other cheek kind of thing. And he tried that with Jack. He was like, well, we don't have any involvement with the Batman. And as Jack, you realize how smart he is. He goes, nah, that's not true, because I found files and photos of the bat signal on top of GCPD.
Yeah.
And then they're like, and that's when Bullock literally goes, oh, shit.
Yeah.
I just needed to bring that up because that's funny. They tried to do the whole, oh, yeah, we're not involved with him. He's like, yeah, bullshit.
Which, by the way, if you're shining a giant spotlight in the sky, somebody's going to be able to see exactly where it's coming from.
I always love the part
that's not a secret.
From the Nolan trilogy where Gordon's like, if you have a problem with faulty equipment, you need to run that by maintenance. He's like, I don't know. I don't know about any spotlights. Yeah. Whatever.
That's really great. The So that kind of whole tussle in the streets, Neo Joker just showing her, force, that was over quickly. But Napier says, all right, this is when he brings Nightwing and Barbara into it, and he's kind of walking them through the idea, and the GCPD has already put it into effect. So he brings Nightwing and Barbara into the garage where cars are being armored and weaponized for their own Batmobiles, and he says, you're going to be GCPD officers, you're going to lead your own strike forces, you're going to be the head of your groups, you're also going to be able to keep your identities, I don't care about them, stay Nightwing, stay Barbara. I don't need to know who you are. So, it's just a little bit of leeway, because basically the idea is I can't force you to do this, and we know you're good. Both of you are good enough that I couldn't force you to do anything. So we'd like you on board with this. Keep your secret identity,
Hopefully at this point you guys do realize how crazy this is, just
Yeah.
if you think about it. Again, he's not Joker, but he's Joker. And he's talking to Barbara and Dick, and he's winning them over.
And Dick
He really
looks
is.
intrigued. He's like, this makes sense. And Barbara does not want anything to do with it. But
it's crazy.
So we kind of flip over to now Neo Joker explaining how she met. I don't remember who she was talking to, but she was explaining how she met the Joker, and it's the weirdest background story ever. The Joker, in all his craziness, this is full-blown Joker. He robbed a bank. He literally went and robbed a bank. He was holding people hostage, and she was a depressed teller who had just slit her wrists all the way down underneath her counter. And she said, I was trying to see how many customers I could help before I bled out. Right? So she had taken a razor blade and cut her wrist all the way down. And it was disgusting when you're looking at it. And she's like, I'm going to see how many customers I can help until I bleed out. And the Joker points a gun at her and says, come here, help me open this. I want money, right? I'm robbing you. This is a bank. And then she said, out of nowhere, he just started calling me Harley. So in the hopes of not dying, I started calling him Puddin'. So it was like, and then we went home and he bandaged up my wrists, and then he just showed me affection, and I was like, okay, I'm the new Harley Quinn, and that was it. And she was like, I've never, not that it was a bad origin, it was just so weird,
It's
but
random.
it was like, so the old Harley Quinn had left, and she was like, all right, so I guess I'm the new Harley Quinn, and she loved the attention, and she loved being important and having a purpose, and she's like, now I don't have to be a bank teller anymore.
Oh, and it's hilarious too, because Jack, when he realized earlier in the story there was two, he was like, wait, you got switched out?
Yeah, he didn't even know.
He was like, he was even saying, he's like, that's just a testament to how nuts I was.
Right.
I didn't even notice.
That's
like, I have no idea there were two of you.
I just love the idea that the Joker is so incredibly loony. Like, he's just constantly on nitrous oxide, that he walked into a bank and was like, you look like you have blonde hair. Come on, Harley. Like, that's so ridiculous.
I just thought that was one of the funniest parts, is he's like, oh, I had no idea. You got replaced? Oh, well,
I just think, gosh, I think it's interesting. What's cool, though, is we see, so Freeze was, we find out about I always say Dr. Freeze, Mr. Freeze's father. Mr. Freeze's father was a Nazi. He was a Nazi, right?
Mr. Freeze Sr.
Yeah, Mr. Freeze Sr. He was a Nazi, and he worked with Thomas Wayne. Again, I think the lines are blurred. Thomas Wayne wasn't a Nazi sympathizer, I don't think, but they had a common goal, right? Like a purpose they were trying to work towards. And it had a lot to do with the freeze tech. And so you kind of find out about how they were working together and stuff, and you see like a picture of young Victor standing in the frame in the 40s. And it's interesting. It also makes you think that Thomas Wayne was old as shit, because Thomas Wayne would have been as old as Victor's father. Mm-hmm. So, geez, that timeline doesn't match up extremely well.
You're not
but whatever.
supposed to think about that.
Yeah, there's something wrong there. And then you kind of see Harleen is teaching Napier how to fight, because Napier doesn't know how to fight. The Joker never really knew how to fight. He just knew how to be crazy and wild. And
there's definitely no muscle memory, because he is a pansy. He's smart, but he's just like,
You know what's frustrating is, so she's teaching him how to fight, and he takes his shirt off, and he's shredded. He's just completely, they drew in every oblique, every ab, everything. And it is the most like, oh my God moment. And she's teaching him jujitsu and stuff. Like preparing, saying like, I'm going to have to fight the Batman eventually. I want to get a good lick in, I want to get at least one shot in, which I respect, So she's trying to help him, and he's like, not the face, I'm a political figure. And she kicks him in the face anyways, which is just great. But, again, this book is very back and forth. We have a lot of things going on. We have what's going on with Batman. We have a lot of what's going on with Neo Joker, what's going on with Napier and Harleen. So now we're back with Neo Joker, and her and Ivy under her control. They break into Wayne Manor. Well, they're trying to steal the plans that Thomas Wayne and Freeze's father, Freeze Sr., were working on, that he had stored at Wayne Manor. So Batman, knowing he can't like full on just be at Wayne Manor, he comes out as Bruce Wayne in a pink nightie, like a pink robe nightie, kind of lingerie thing, and he screams like a little girl at the sight of Neo Joker. And Neo Joker and Ivy, like children, were like, "We've been made, scram," like scramble, and they just get out of there, and so
Vanish.
the GCPD pull up to Wayne Manor, a whole bunch of cars pull up to Wayne Manor, and Nightwing steps out of one of the cars wearing a full tactical GCPD. He has a hat. He's got a nice hat, and he's got the bulletproof vest and everything, as if Nightwing was like, you know what? I've been doing this all these years with not the right equipment. Let me go ahead and throw some equipment on.
Yeah, how about they were doing it in spandex, and then you give him
Yeah.
armor,
And then he's like,
"Oh, dude."
he's like, man, this would have made getting shot a lot easier. But so he steps out, so it just to signify he's officially an officer with the GCPD. He's still got his domino mask on, so he's still got his identity and whatnot. But so he steps out. That's really cool. And then they were like, I feel like I'm missing something. No, so they're chasing Neo Joker, right? So Batman, Bruce opens up the front of the pink nightie. And even though in 2 prior shots, like the last time you saw him, you saw his bare chest, right? But suddenly now he opens up the front of the nightie and it's just the bat symbol. It made no sense.
You're not supposed to think about
Yeah,
these
I
things.
know, but it's just so great. But so he chases Neo Joker all over the streets of Gotham. Another big, Batmobile chase, which is great. And it results in that bridge being destroyed. They come up to a bridge and he kind of sees, he uncovers the backpack that has Clayface's brain with the card stuck in it. And he's like, what the fuck? And then she kicks him off and he falls and gets hurt. He's not having any luck, is he? Batman's just really getting the shit of everything. And because the bridge was just destroyed, another couple $100,000 in damage. Well, Gordon puts out an APB saying, I want Batman arrested tonight.
It's on.
Nightwing decides, after talking with Barbara and the GCPD, Nightwing says, I'll help you bring him in. But the mask stays on,
Right.
I'll help you, but it stays on. So he doesn't, reveal his identity or anything, but he does say, I'll help bring him in. And Barbara wants absolutely no part of it. Barbara is furious. Another great crazy Batmobile chase. But what's crazy about this Batmobile chase is they have Gordon driving one of the classic, like the animated series Batmobile, blindfolded. And you're like, why the fuck is he blindfolded? And you have Nightwing on the radio directing him exactly what to do, driving this Batmobile. And so he's chasing Batman through the streets in another Batmobile. Really great chase, really great couple of panels. And then they kind of bottleneck him into this road where they turned on 50 bat signals to blind him. And you're like, that's why he's wearing the blindfold.
It all makes sense now.
It doesn't. So they blind Batman and they kind of corner him. And I think they didn't catch him. No, because he gets out and standing there with the GCPD is Napier. And they kind of have like a never back down Fight Club kind of scene where he's like, oh, here's the fight. Let's do it.
Has he ever been caught? Like, I'm thinking about this
Who,
throughout the various stories. Has he ever been caught? And
Batman?
I'm not counting anything that was willing where he got caught on purpose.
Yeah, I'm sure there have been other stories where he's been caught, but I don't know.
Prove it.
None that I can think of. Yeah.
I don't think he
prove
has.
it. Show me proof.
Yeah.
So he gets in this fist fight with Napier, and Napier does. I think Napier beats the shit out of him. Yeah.
He throws hands
But,
with him.
oh, to be fair, so Napier does knock him around, but he was pretty bad injured from crashing the Batmobile.
Yeah, and he's half blind.
Yeah, so he's
Blind
half
man.
blind. He crashed the Batmobile, and he gets out, and he still lands some licks on Napier.
Yeah.
But Napier gets him, and he carries him over his, fireman carries him to the car, and
Because he's ripped.
they
You know,
arrest
he's
him. They
very
take him
strong.
back to Arkham. But again, he still gets to keep his mask and suit on, so he is Batman. But Neo Joker, built this big Ice Age cannon with the plans that she stole from Wayne Manor, and it's just a big Nazi freeze cannon. And
And Nazi ice is way worse than regular
Yeah,
ice.
Nazi ice is way worse than regular ice. And so she completely freezes Gotham. Napier starts to kind of lose more control. You know, if you remember, starts to lose control of Joker a little bit more.
Yeah, he starts peeking. He starts peeking through a bit now, more frequently.
Yeah, Barbara goes to Freeze and says, help. We need you to help undo this. She just froze all of Gotham in a blanket of ice age.
Again, another thing straight from Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
That's all this book is.
Yeah.
Is Batman and Robin.
It's like, what if this was good? What if this story was actually done
Schumacher
well?
had some good ideas.
Yeah.
Let's make it better.
But so they go to Freeze, and Freeze says, it's too late. It's too late for me. It's too late for Nora, and I don't care about anything past that. And he pulls the plug on Nora, draining her draining her chamber of all the liquid that was keeping her alive.
Another very we went all in moment.
Yeah.
In the same book. You're just like, God.
So as Barbara walks away, Victor pulls the plug, and it's man. So Joker is losing more control, and he like completely. By the way, when he flashes back to Joker, he suddenly has all his makeup and he's green hair. So which again leads me to believe that, like some other iterations, the Joker does not have makeup. Even though they said earlier he does. I don't know.
He definitely does.
But
I think that was just a good visual representation for the reader, so that like his psyche is shifting.
But again, I do like the idea of the Killing Joke, that the chemicals he fell into bleached his skin. And
yeah, I've noticed a lot more recently. Like I always thought that was more concrete, that he had bleached skin and the Ace chemicals.
You're
but I've
absolutely
noticed there's
right.
a lot of iterations where that's not the case.
No, you're absolutely right. Very recently, within the last 10 years, I'd say, they've been doing a lot where it's makeup.
And a lot with Harley, too. Like, there's some versions where she fell into the chemicals also, and then there's some where she
Was
didn't.
there? Mm-hmm. Did she fall into the chemicals?
In some versions, yeah.
Well, like Suicide Squad, but that was she was already going crazy.
No, that they didn't come up with that. No, that's been done before.
Really? Mm-hmm. It's interesting.
Because it was like the same concept. Like, it was like, I'm taking that last step. I want to be with you. And he's like, all right, well,
I haven't seen that. That's
bleach your
interesting. I'll have
shit.
to look at that. The so that's so he like flashes back to being the Joker in the GCPD, and they all like pull their guns on him. And all of a sudden we're back to the beginning of the story. Napier he pulls up in the Batmobile to Arkham, and he's I know my way around. He walks and he says, "Look, we need to work together. I need your help."
I always think of the first Deadpool movie every time something like that happens, where he goes, there, all caught up.
I think it's such a cool moment because he's putting away his pride. Of all people, Joker, Jack Napier, he's the one to say, look, we need to do this together. I need your help. I can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. Let's do it.
Look who came crawling back.
Yeah, and Batman's like, all right, but you need to ride with me because whatever happens, I don't trust you being out there without me. He says, I finally understand that you're not the Joker, but you are losing control. So I want you in the same car, And so as they're in the car, he does start to lose more and more control. And he says, wait, he starts to remember what happened with Jason Todd.
This is my favorite part of the whole book.
Yeah. So he starts to remember what happened with Jason Todd. And he realizes that after all the beating and cutting and torture, Jason Todd cracked. And he told the Joker who Batman was.
He's freaking ratted.
And the Joker knew all these years that Bruce Wayne was Batman.
Now remember, Jack doesn't remember Joker stuff.
Right. Well, now he does.
Well, here's the best part of the book.
Yes, it is the best part of the book because he reveals that even though Jason Todd, he didn't remember Jason Todd told him, he knew for months.
He figured it out himself as Jack.
He figured it out as Jack for months. He said, yeah, as soon as I uncovered the Batman disaster relief, he said, I used it to my advantage, but I instantly found out that it wasn't taxpayers paying the money. It was completely financed by Wayne Enterprises. Yep. He said Wayne Enterprises was paying $3 billion a year for the Batman damage, not the taxpayers. He said, of course, I couldn't tell anyone that because I needed the leverage, but I knew immediately.
And it's so cool because he just said, if Jason told Joker...
Right.
And I love this because Batman in these situations never willingly agrees that he's Bruce Wayne. He never does. He goes, so if Jason Todd claims that I'm Bruce
Yeah,
Wayne,
he
like
did
he
say
never
stuff
says
like
that
that.
I'm Bruce Wayne.
He said, so if the Joker thought that that Bruce Wayne was Batman, and it's like one of those funny sketches where he's like you always expect him to stumble and be like,
it's like plausible deniability.
Yeah.
It's like, I never confirm it. But
Right.
that was the best dialogue, is he goes, oh, it's something to the tune of, oh, no, I didn't remember that. I figured it out myself.
right.
And it's just like, wow.
I think I do think it's great.
And
so
this is one of the countless times where Joker figures out his identity and he doesn't exploit it.
Right.
He never does. Ever.
So Freeze shows up, and Freeze is like, Nora, she lived. She survived the thawing for now. She's still going to age. We don't know how long her disease is going to take hold, but for now, I can help you. I'm here to save, because I want to spend as much time with her as I have available. And Batman's like, well, we're going to need real Batmobiles. So that cave full of Batmobiles that we saw, he provides all of them to the GCPD for them to all use. And this huge, ridiculous fight, this huge, ridiculous multi-Batmobile, we got little taste of that earlier because there was, this is the third Batmobile chase, but it's like it got bigger and bigger each time. Now we're on this big, grandiose Batmobile adventure through Gotham, through this ice wasteland of Gotham. And Joker says, all right, I'm going to go full Joker, and he gives control to the Joker because he's like, we need the advantage of the Joker being a
wild card, baby.
Yeah, we need a wild card, baby. And it's really neat because we get to this point where the Dark Knight tumbler gets launched right into the freeze cannon, right? And explodes the freeze cannon. And then you see Joker jumps Neo Joker and breaks the Hatter's control. So now all the rogues are like, fuck, we're free.
Where the hell am I?
Yeah, but then they're like, but we have to fight everything around us. There's nothing but cops and stuff. Let's fight. And Clayface is pissed because Joker, Jack Napier, was the original one to take control. So he's now chasing Napier. And he gets back a moment of clarity where he's, they're on the hunt for Neo Joker, who was able to slip away, and now they're chasing her again. She's on that rocket thing or one of those rocket cycles.
Should have got a scooter like he used at the beginning.
Yeah.
Or the whip stick or whatever they call it.
And so him and Harleen are now in a Batmobile together, Napier and Harleen, and he's like, I want you to know I love you and I'm sorry about everything, but you deserve better, you deserve to go on, and I don't. And he launches her from the tumbler to, how the tumbler, a wheel would turn into the Batpod. So he launches her on the Batpod and crashes into the gate.
Yeah, saving her life.
Saving her and exploding and dying.
Which another key piece of information is when she revealed about the two Harleys, she said the new Harley loves Joker, I love Jack.
Yes.
So, and that was crazy.
What's
that
amazing though is that
nuts.
so she was still a crazy person. She was still Harley Quinn.
She knew who he was, underneath the madness, which was
But so she didn't
wild.
care. She was like, I don't need to be a psychopath or a villain.
Yep.
I just want you.
That's why when he comes back, very similar to in Suicide Squad, when Enchantress warps their minds and Harley sees the normal Joker and normal her with the kids.
Right.
That's what he tells her. He's like, I know this is what you've always wanted. And then the new one's like, what the hell are you talking about? I just want to bang and kill people.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's crazy. I love that. That's so cool.
Such great characterizations in this book.
Yeah.
And Freeze was then able to I can reverse the cannon, because this, like you
Everybody
said.
chill.
Yeah, everybody chill. I love that. He did have a really great line because he gets one of them was about to take him out. Now again, he's not in his freeze tech or suit. He's just a man now. But he says, I'm all out of ice puns, and he shoots Neo Joker. And I'm like, what a great... Instead of giving him an ice pun, he literally just says, I'm all out of ice puns.
Basically just like, screw
I
it.
love that.
Yeah.
So Batman... Freeze was able to reverse the freeze cannon. Boom. Normal Gotham again.
Very Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
Again.
And Batman dives into the water, and you see Jack's body floating down, and he grabs him and brings him up and saves his life. He's alive,
Very Batman and Joker.
Harleen catches Neo Joker and starts beating the shit out of her, and then fucking stabs her with a buck knife right in the chest or shoulder. I think it was the shoulder because she's alive. and carries her over her shoulder and starts walking her back. And somebody was like, "Did you hear? Napier's alive." And she's like, "Puddin'." So Napier, of course, we're kind of winding down, right? The battle is over. Gotham is saved. Where did all the rogues go? I don't know.
Who cares?
But Napier is like, I need to go to Arkham. He voluntarily puts himself back in Arkham because he can't control the Joker anymore. And it was really fucked up because they were given like their goodbyes in the cell, and then he went full Joker and just grabbed her by the face, like grabbed her by the head. And
oh yeah, because they allowed them to have a marriage essentially.
Yeah, so they got married, and it's really great. And
this was a great finale, by the way.
Yeah,
like a very good finale.
Gordon's right back to thinking. He's like, no, we still need a Batman. He's like, yeah, I'm back on your side. We need a Batman.
And here's what solidifies the best freaking finale.
Yes, and Wayne takes off his mask and says, "But I need you to trust me, so I'm trusting you with this."
And he takes his damn cowl off.
I think it's weird because you realize at this point that even though Joker knew, Gordon didn't know.
Nope.
And so he takes his cowl off and he says, "I need you to trust me if we're going to continue to do this."
Yep.
And end credits roll.
Yeah, like the last frame is Bruce without the cowl on, and I mean it was sick, man. It was so cool because he basically was like, "Look, I know that I've broken your trust, and I'm going to do the one thing that I know that I can try to repair it with."
So all in all, out of 10 Batmobiles, how many Batmobiles do you give this book?
8.5 Batmobiles. No, 8 Batmobiles and 1 Bat Cycle.
I give it. You know what? Yeah.
I don't want to say 10. Like I can't.
I wouldn't, because there were some goofy parts, some problems, just little things, nothing major. It was an all around really great story and really fun. It was fun to read the second time. You know how like rare it is that things are that fun to read a second time?
Dude, it was so funny because like this is so unique, but I just saw all the parallels with Batman and Robin as we were discussing.
Yeah, as we're literally talking about it.
It's a direct rip-off of Batman and Robin.
But what's great is in July we get the sequel starts.
Oh, I can't wait.
So it's called Curse of the White Knight, and it will be a second part, which I'm very excited. And I wonder if we're going to get... Oh, so I'm sorry. One thing I did gloss over is Jason Todd, by the way. Although he did crack, Joker didn't kill him.
Yeah, he let him go.
He let him go. And Jason just left. And he hated Batman so much, he said, "I want him to think I'm dead."
Yep.
And that was his biggest pain. So I wonder if Curse of the White Knight is going to revolve around Jason's return.
Of course. And who's excited about that? Me.
Yeah, really
Yeah,
excited.
I love it because Joker, he's so sinister too. He goes, "No, I didn't kill him."
Yeah.
He's like, "I figured it would be worse if I got him to hate you and let him live."
Yeah.
And you're just like, dude.
Because the
so
way
sinister.
he told the Joker about a secret, and he said, "I wish I had never met Bruce Wayne."
Which, like in Arkham Knight, that was so dope.
Yeah.
When he does the same thing, except it's different. He says, "Tell me his identity, tell me his identity." And he finally cracks, and he goes, "Batman is," and then Joker shoots him in the face.
Yeah, before he can tell him, he shoots him in the chest and says, "No one likes a tattletale."
That was the most Joker thing.
Yeah.
It's like top 3. Like,
so I think that's what would give me a solid 8 on this.
Yeah,
on 8. Is only because if we are talking the broad scope of things, as much as I like this book, it is the Joker's portrayal in all senses are very uncharacteristic. There's those times where you get the very psycho Joker, but the fact that they did make him out to be, he wasn't like a murdering, which I guess they had to, like,
yeah, that was probably one of my qualms too.
The fact,
like, dude,
the fact that this Joker didn't technically really murder people and he was just like crazy, but then you have glimpses where the GCPD are like they did kind of say like he murdered like
no,
all the.
I'm telling you, the way they presented it was strictly like we know he's a monster. But we don't have evidence.
Yeah.
Like, and they were just strictly like, just like in a real court of law. They were just like, we know that he's a monster.
Yeah.
But we have no physical evidence and we can't prove it. It's like all speculation.
But all in all, I love it. I can't wait for the next one.
Which, guys, like you said, the sequel's coming out soon. This one was released from 2017 to 2018. So it's new. Like, this is fairly new.
Oh, yeah.
It's not an old story or anything. It's pretty cool.
When I picked mine up, the trade paperback had just come out, and that was in like November.
Yeah. It's dope. I can't wait for the sequel.
But yeah, it was really great. I think July is when the next one starts, which I already have on my poll with Mythical Mountain on San Jose Boulevard in beautiful Jacksonville, Florida. And I'm really excited. I also got some short boxes today, so I could separate my Batman stuff because I have a lot of overlay that I needed more room for.
Well, I just finished out, like I said, my Deathstroke rebirth trade paperbacks,
Right.
and also the Lazarus contract for the Titans, and I'm excited.
Oh well, I'm getting on Hush as soon, like tonight. As soon as we're done with
did
this
we
podcast.
say what our next one is?
Yeah, we said it earlier, guys. Don't forget the next comic book reading club is going to be Hush, but Batman Hush by Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee, and I'm super excited. It's probably going to be like a month from now because we have, like we said, we have the Arkhamverse coming up next week where we're going to talk about Arkham City. We have Gotham's finale episode the week after because Gotham will have just ended. Avengers Endgame the week after that.
We're pushing that one back so we don't give out spoilers.
Yeah, so we did that with Shazam, and a lot of you guys were like, hey, this is great, but it's opening weekend, and we haven't all gotten to see it yet. So
I get that, and I sympathize with that, but with the Endgame, I'd be like, shut up. If you haven't seen it in the first day,
I know, but we still got to give like a week.
I know, plus, I'm teasing. I want everybody to experience this for the first time. Legit.
I think it's good because I may not go see it opening weekend. I think I'm going to go see it in the middle of the week when it's calmed down.
Who is that?
Yeah, I know. I suck. But it's still going to be cool regardless. But other than that, man, do you got anything for the folks at home?
Have a good week. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks again for listening.
This is fun, man. I like this.
Yeah.
This comic book club thing is pretty cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to do Hush. That's going to be a good one.
It's a good excuse to go on some new stories and revisit some old but golds.
We're just short of 2 hours for this one. We're just short of 2 hours. Hush, I'm going to try really hard to condense because that could take us forever.
That's going to be like Hush. We need 2 or 3 episodes for Hush.
Yeah,
we have a Hush verse.
But yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much again for listening, and goodbye, Matt's mom.
Bye.